What is up, everybody? We're here yet again, Great Lakes Hot Takes, and this week I am actually joined by my co-host, Lunges. How you been? Where have you been?
In and of itself because and I got my Baylor University hat on. Go Bears. I guess I didn't know Baylor University was in Waco, Texas, but apparently like that is the entire town. It's like a college town for Baylor University. So if you watch, college basketball, then you probably know who Baylor is. But that aside, it had not rained all summer in Texas and like that area of Texas.
Mhm.
And so like all the grass everywhere was dead. It was miserably hot. There were cockroaches in my Airbnb, which
Oh
my, my
no.
my sweet little landlady or whoever the owner was said that they're just looking for moisture because it hasn't rained in 3 months. And literally when we were trying to get back, me and Onan we were traveling. When we were trying to fly out of the airport there, they got their first rain all summer, and not only it was like a cataclysmic like flash flood, like players were getting stranded in the airport. We got our flight delayed 6 hours, so we didn't end up getting back into like Grand Rapids until like 3 a.m. in the morning, and he had to go to Onan had to go to school the next day. So it was quite an adventure, but I'm back. I'm very glad to be back and back on the show. How have you been though, KJs?
I've been doing fine. Nothing too special. I just had a nice, relaxing weekend. Didn't get stranded anywhere or anything. Spent my weekend watching our guest actually have a successful run at Shine. How are you doing today, Doorstop?
I'm doing all right. I am significantly less tired than I was yesterday. I was dead. Obviously, you guys know where I was for the weekend, but it was a good time. I was enjoying not Boston. I thought it was Boston, but it's actually like Worcester, Massachusetts. Good time. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how they pronounce it there. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, did you fly into Worcester, however you say it? Did you fly into there, or
yeah.
did you fly into Boston?
So I flew into Boston. That was the easiest way to get a flight. I still had to get an Uber that took about an hour. Well, it was more like 45 minutes, like 50 minutes from the airport. Yeah, so we Ubered from there to the hotel, and I got there Thursday morning. Uh, and I kind of just was messing around most of Thursday until my hotel opened up, which was like around 2. So,
Cool, cool,
yeah.
cool. Did you fly out there with anybody?
Yeah, so Emma did not go with me because we currently live in different parts of Ohio right now. I live in Youngstown. She lives in Cincinnati, which is about like 4.5 hours apart. So she flew out. Her flight came in like 6 p.m. Mine came in at like 6 in the morning. We were like complete opposite times, which I don't think was very well planned. We're going to try to avoid that in the future. But I got there really, really early, so I was already in the hotel room. She kind of came in later in the day.
See, yeah, that was. Did you think that because I thought the major was in Boston, because I was looking at going out there, but then I realized I was gonna have to take like a 45-minute Uber, and like that's kind of expensive. um, but yeah, I guess like while we're on the topic of Shine, and obviously you had a good run, which we'll get into in a minute. But I as someone that's never been to Shine, but has been watching Melee, and I guess like the legacy of Shine for so long. I guess how did the event go from like an experience standpoint as a competitor?
Uh, so I think they did some things really well, and I think they did some things really not well. I think the venue itself was very spacious. They had a lot of friendly setups, which like at no point at any time in the weekend, if I wanted to sit down and play, there was a setup available, which I cannot
Yeah.
say the same for any other major I've been to, especially like coming from SmashCon where you could like be wandering around the venue for 30 minutes waiting for a chance for someone to get up from their smash or something like that, right? But Shine always had friendly setups. They had a dedicated area for it. It was quite large. I think where my biggest issue, they also had a really good bag check. Like the only bag check at a major where I feel like I've walked into and like, oh, I feel like this actually stops somebody or something like that if like they have bad intentions. But I also have problems with the bag check. So the both days we played doubles on Friday. We had singles on Saturday. Both days I had 10 a.m. pools, classic, you know. But where the line for 10 a.m. So you go through the bag check. SmashCon, for example, had a line where if you didn't have a bag, you could just go around and go like through. Whereas there was nothing like that for Shine. Everyone had to go through the bag check, even if you didn't have a bag or not. And also the line to go through the bag check, they didn't they didn't even open the doors to the venue until like 9:45. So there was this huge line Friday and Saturday morning where everyone's trying to get to their 10 a.m. pool, but there's a massive like line. We really can't get in the venue early. So it's not like I don't think people got DQ'd as a result, but pool started about half an hour late, which is frustrating just in general as a competitor. But and then the part about it that frustrated me is that they didn't let any food or drinks in the venue, and then they charged $6 for water bottles.
Yeah, I saw that. That's like criminal. That's crazy to me.
I think I looked it up, and I think they barely passed like price gouging laws because technically you could have brought a container for water in, and then you could use their shitty water fountains that they had, 3 of which broke out of the 4. So you technically could have done that, and because that was an option, I think it's technically not price gouging. But enough people complained about it. By Sunday, they started letting unsealed water bottles in, which thank gosh, because that was stupid. And I know like myself personally, I am very much so like water dependent, especially in majors. I go through buckets of that stuff. Like if anything is like if I go with like 2 hours like without water or something like that, I like instantly get a migraine that won't go away for the rest of the day. So yeah, that absolutely sucked. I had to buy one of the $6 waters just to have a water bottle so I could get fountain for it.
Yeah, that's like music festivals are the only places that do that, and like even those have like loosened up after people started dying at them.
It's such a huge problem. And like very, very essential for a competitor to have that. Like our brains work on that.
Yeah, for
sure. But so that was the frustrating part. So I didn't like how the logistics of like the line worked. I liked that they actually had an effective bag check, but I think the logistics and how it was planned around was awful, and I don't like how that just ended up really getting used to extort you for money. But past that, I think the rest of the venue, like everything else, is pretty standard. I think Shine has some of the coolest merch. I think their just tournament logo is really cool. It's like something that like you can like buy things from and like wear in public and not be like Smashy Bros, you know, which I think so it's like it's I think they have like cool merch. And yeah, there's a lot of friendly setups. So past that, I don't have a ton of other complaints. I think most of the problems of the event just came from the whole bag check situation.
Okay. And for I'll take a quick just like pause here just to get this out. This is a call-in show, so if anyone in the chat has a take, if they want to be on the show, KJs, can you post a link to the Discord in the chat?
Yeah, the bot actually just posted one.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So you join the Discord and put your take in the takes section of the Discord, and then you'll join the waiting. Wait, what is it called? I already forgot.
Waiting room.
You'll join the waiting room. Thank you. And if we like your take, we're gonna pull you into the live show here in a little bit after done capping a little bit. So yeah. Okay, so back to Shine. Doorstop. Now, is this, forgive me if this is incorrect, but is this the highest you've been seated at a major before?
It is definitely the highest I've been seated, and also the highest I've placed. So I don't like. I remember checking it the like a week before, whatever, when like seating dropped, and being like, oh my gosh, I'm like seated to make like top 32 winners. Wow, that's and there was like it was weird. So like Shine is a lot of people are like saying it like wasn't a major or something like that. I think like technically it is, but I think this is probably one of the least stacked Shines that there's been, but also in a weird way where it was like simultaneously extremely top heavy, and then there's also a whole bunch of killers everywhere between like 32 and 64 or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like for example, it's like lacking a lot of like the top 10. So like there was like Light was there and Tweak was there, and that was like pretty much it as far as the top 10. I mean, like you probably could argue Zlama's top 10 right now, but and so you have like those players and like a whole bunch of like very good ones that are you would expect to see like potentially make like top 8 in major, and then after that is like kind of like just the gap of like I don't know like top like 25 players or something like that. There's like kind of like a little bit of a gap in there of like players that would normally be in a major but weren't this time around. And then like past that, it's like all the people who like at any point could make huge upsets, but like wouldn't normally be seated as high as they were. Like I was very closely seated to Ling. I was very closely seated to Sora, who were like two players that be like those are very very good players that you would expect to make far in a major. And there was like a ton of players of that skill level at this event. There was like it was just had like a little bit of a gap of like the mid like the almost like top 20 players. Like there just wasn't a lot of those. But then like a whole bunch of threats outside of it. It was very weird how it ended up. It was like I think effectively it ended up being mainly just like a really big tri-state regional that just had like featuring.
We were going over it on stream last week, and yeah, that's sort of what we called it. It was like a super regional for like tri-state, basically.
It's like weird because it had like obviously more out of state than you expect from a super regional, but also it had like a lot of Canada. So like I had a lot of Canada, a lot of tri-state, and then like a whole bunch of like MDVA and like just a bunch of like a couple random out of region. But yeah, so like super regional almost. That's like I would probably just like barely above that probably.
Well, it did qualify as a major, to be fair. It's just we've had so many majors as of late that this one kind of was like, the weakest of the long string of majors we've been having lately. But, I mean, on the note that you're saying about, like, how many, there's just, like, so many killers, I mean, like, holy smokes, like, this tournament was a bloodbath. What, am I wrong? Or, like,
Yanni got 65th.
There's upsets left and right all over the place, which made for some like really interesting bracket paths. Like yours was not easy by any stretch. I mean, you had to play Ling.
Ling terrified me because so normally if he told me in any circumstance I have to fight a Peach player, I am doing fantastic. I've lost a Peach as Zero Suit one time in this game back in 2019. And like since then, I've beat every single Peach I've ever played. There's a lot of good ones in that game. That includes like Samsora in a money match. There's like a whole bunch. I do not lose to Peach. However, Ling on that day specifically had gotten upset by an Ice Climbers player on stream, and immediately had to play Yanni for 65th, and beat Yanni, knocked Yanni out at 65th, and then I think Ling just happened to get like the massive upset bracket because like everyone that got upset seemed to run into Ling, and Ling kept beating them all the way up until me. Where I think like Dark Wizzy was the person that he beat right before me, and I was like, oh shit, okay, like Ling has been in losers for a while and he's hot. Like he's been beating really good people in losers. It's not even like he just like gathered momentum by picking on a whole bunch of people that weren't expecting to be there that early. It was good players he was running through. But I survived Ling, and that was like things kind of going up from there. But
yeah, no, that was crazy. And then I mean, you 3-0'd him, so I guess your Peach.
Peach is good for me.
Yeah. Is that a matchup? Okay, so I'm kind of curious. What matchups when you're going into a bracket like this? Did you bring out the Pokemon Trainer at all?
Yeah. So I brought up Pokemon Trainer for 3 sets this weekend. One against a Fox that wasn't Light, one against Light, and then I started PT against Jackal. I probably should have finished the whole set as PT. My PT is a lot weaker than my Zero Suit. It kind of has been since quarantine. I just played Zero Suit so much more online than I played PT because I hate that character online. But yeah, there was like I play PT for specific matchups. So I ran into 2 Foxes and 1 Wolf, and I played PT for those. So ironically, the 2 sets I lost were PT sets, whereas everything else is Zero Suit.
Yeah, somebody in the chat asked us to ask you, why did you play Squirtle so much against Light's Fox?
So that matchup is very Squirtle based. I play Fox PT a whole bunch. I have like 40 something sets against like Fast at this point. And most of them are in the last 6 months. The two Pokemon that you probably should be playing the most are like Squirtle and Ivysaur, and it's almost always Squirtle until you absolutely have to switch. Squirtle is the only one that has like kind of like the frame data and just the ability to box with Fox. Sort of, kind of. Fox still kind of out hitboxes you. But you have the frame data and just the ability to like be small and make Fox work a little harder to hit you. Squirtle has the best disadvantage probably of the three. I feel like part that like Squirtle's weakest at is recovering, but Fox doesn't go deep on edge guards too often. So it's very much so like Squirtle is very necessary in that matchup because you need to get Fox like at a high enough percent where Ivysaur can finish him. The ideal Squirtle Fox, like the ideal PT stock in against Fox is you play Squirtle for as long as possible until you get a neutral win that puts Fox off stage. You use Squirtle to run him out of resources. Once he's out of his jump and he's forced to go low, you switch to Ivysaur and you finish with a down air. And then you stay on Ivysaur probably until you die. And so that you can die on Ivysaur, switch immediately as come back to Squirtle and repeat the stock. That's kind of the flow chart of it. So yeah, I pretty much play Squirtle in that matchup until Nair Up Smash starts killing me, and then I'm like, okay, I should probably switch. Because it's just a little too easy for Fox to get an Nair Up Smash on PT. Because you don't want to die. The worst thing that can happen is you die on Squirtle and you have to come back as Charizard. You have to come back as Ivysaur because then you have to switch to Charizard, and then you have to get a neutral win on Charizard to get back to Squirtle. And by that point, your entire next stock could just be gone because of Charizard's disadvantage.
Yeah, sometimes with those bigger characters, if Fox starts hitting you, it's hard to find a place to stop getting hit, for sure. Yeah. So
one dash attack and you could be gone. So, woo.
Yep.
Which Ivysaur's frame 4 dash attack did that.
Question: did you have any timeouts in your set against Lagrimas?
The first game almost did.
Okay. I wasn't able to watch too many of the games, but I was just, I was looking at your bracket path earlier today, and I saw that you rated it and had a game 5 with him, and was kind of wondering, did that set take like 2 hours total? Just for that?
So I'm a very aggressive Zero Suit, probably one of like the most aggressive Zero Suits. I think I'm like the peak example of that, to my detriment. I would say in a lot of extent, I'm really strong against characters that we need to approach against. Like I'm probably the best Zero Suit against zoners or something like that. But when it's the characters we're supposed to be timing out, the characters we're supposed to be camping, I'm very, very weak at that. I don't know. It's just like not very intuitive to me to play that style. Game & Watch is one of the characters I'm actually pretty good at doing it against because I understand everything. Like I understand why I'm supposed to be camping. I understand like the whole flow chart of the camping, like what works defensively and stuff. So it's more intuitive for me to do. And so the first game I went in and I'm going to play so lame. I'm going to just chill. I'm not going to force anything because Game & Watch cannot move forward. Game & Watch is so bad at moving forward. And that match is garbage for Game & Watch for that reason. Like Game & Watch just can't really move forward or catch. There's no way for him to pin down Zero Suit at any point. And it's like I've said it like at one point that I'm pretty sure if you put a Taz Zero Suit that could only use her movement options in Zaire versus a Taz Game & Watch, the Taz Zero Suit would win every single time. Like with just Zaire and movement options, like you should just always win. But so the first game I played very textbook. It worked out really well. It almost went to time. It was like a minute left on the clock or something like that. I actually it took so long for me to get his first stock and him so long to get my first stock that as I was like waiting on the Angel platforms, like we've already burned about half of this game's time. Like I'm just gonna sit here and wait because like this is definitely going that way. But I ended up killing him a little earlier the next 2 stocks. But and then games 2 and 3. The problem is the same problem I had for a while, where he actually got the first stock off me, and so my style stopped working. What you're supposed to do in those situations when the characters you're not supposed to interact with get the first stock off you is to continue to stick to not interacting with them. You don't want to you don't break the game plan. The whole point is you don't interact with these characters. But I then feel very pressured because I'm like, well, I'm down, so I need to like make something happen or something like that. That's the wrong answer. You need to be okay with being timed out and keep playing it safe, and that's not what happened game 2 or 3. So I lost the next 2 games because he just got the first stock and then ran with it. Game 4 was not by the books whatsoever. I got the first stock and then I just killed him again. Like I don't know. It was one of those games that was like a minute and I just blew up really fast. And then game 5 was the game where he got the first stock and I told myself I would keep playing the way I was, and it worked and I was able to pull it back that way. So there was like I would say of any 2 games that like took really long time, it was probably games 1 and 5. Because those were the 2 I was like most dedicated to. I will not interact with Game and Watch. I'll not interact with Game and Watch. And but I don't know. That's not usual for me. I'm generally someone who loses quickly or wins quickly. It's just kind of a matchup thing that time. So
Yeah, I really liked that clip you got on, was it Soar, where you like took one stock and then he spawns and then you just like keep hitting him.
yeah. So I don't know. PT disadvantage sucks. I know exactly why. So
Yeah.
you hit them one time, they never touch the ground ever again.
What do you think about them? What do you think about Steve PT versus
Steve PT?
Yeah, I guess versus Steve ZSS. Like, what do you comfort pick, or let me say, who do you think actually wins the matchup?
I think I have not been given reasons to believe that Zero Suit or Steve do not win the matchup against Steve. I can't claim to be a Steve expert. I think I know more than the average player does about Steve, but I also like I'm not like like a Steve killer. I'm not super practiced at this or anything like that. I wouldn't describe myself in such a way. Both of my characters are supposedly his worst matchups. According to most Steve players, they either cite Zero Suit or Pokemon Trainer as the worst matchups. And results-wise, actually, I think there's a good amount of support to that. I think like PT's obviously it's not just DD that farms all the Steves. Beast is actually probably one of the most like I think people don't understand how good Beast is against Steve. I think he has a positive record on Jake, Yanni. I don't think he's lost to a Steve. I don't know like he beats all the tri-state ones, and there's like 3 that go to his local. I know AK Fires D-Dog, he beats them. And he's beaten Yanni the one time they played at a major. He beat Jake the one time they played at a major. He hasn't played out, and I don't think. But it's like PT like has really good results against Steve. That's just fact. And the theory of it makes sense in my head. Zero Suit's results against Steve are a little bit more mixed. I think if you're bad at the matchup with Zero Suit, it still shows. But I also understand like the theory of why Zero Suit beats Steve also makes complete sense to me. Steve's full hop sucks, and Zero Suit's able to like threaten him without really committing from very far away. So mining's really difficult for him. And we can avoid a lot of his bullshit just by having flip kick, which very much so helps. So I think that when I pick Zero Suit in the matchup, but that is purely because I have not practiced it on PT. I hate playing matchups with PT that I don't know. I do not know Steve PT I understand it at a theory level. I do not understand it at a practice level whatsoever. Playing PT in matchups I don't know is a horrible disaster. Even if the matchups are like theoretically fine, because there's just so many times like you could be winning a matchup or something with PT, but if you don't know why and you're playing the wrong Pokemon at the wrong percents, you're actually losing the matchup. And you don't know the situation or whatever, you should actually be Ivysaur. You're on the wrong Pokemon, so you're actually playing a losing matchup that doesn't matter or something like that, right? Literally my round 1 against Shiny, you can check the bracket. I lost my first game of my round 1 because I thought I was playing a Zero Suit, but it turned out they started Byleth on me, and I started PT. I don't know PT Byleth whatsoever, and I was like, I know the matchup's like fine objectively, but I know like very little. I know I can up-B Squirtle. I know I can Squirtle up-B his down tilt out of shield. That's like about it. I don't know the counterplay to a lot of the stuff, and I get like up-B reverse spiked at like 20 because I tried to edge guard him 2 times, and I'm like, okay, well whatever. I switched to Zero Suit and I 6-knocked the guy. Like it. Literally because like if I just don't know a matchup on PT, it is awful for me. I will lose to anybody in a matchup I do not know. I've like lost every single time I've like played PT DK, and that match is supposed to be free, but I don't really know it. So it's like, and it's Zero Suit's the complete opposite, where if it's a matchup I don't feel like I know, Zero Suit's so good at playing it. She's so good at like her default style. I never really like I get so many chances to figure out what's going wrong, right? Like I screw up one interaction on PT, I'm at disadvantage the entire stock and I explode. On Zero Suit, if I lose an interaction, I'll be like, oh, okay, I take 20%, and then let's reset this again. Let's try this again. I'll try something else. and I lose that interaction, I take 20% or whatever, and I reset it. And I gotta try something else, right? Zerasu is just the way she is, and like I think like it's easier to move on her. Is like the fact that I can make people work hard to try and hit me. Whenever I like, there's so like she is my character that I play in any matchup. I do not feel like I know the inside outs of. So like PT is for specifically for matchups that I like know with them very well. Prom, Roy, Fox, Wolf, Joker for a while, Aegis. Like those are like matchups I very much so know and I practice a ton with them. But if it's even matchups that are theoretically good for PT, if I don't know it, I don't play them. And Steve is one of them. So I play Zerasu because I know Zerasu is good, and I have been playing Zerasu because Zerasu is the one that like, well, if I played a Steve player 9 months ago, I didn't know the matchup at all. So I play Zerasu in it because she's the character I don't play for. I play matchups I don't know, and then I find out that Zerasu is really good at it, and I just kept playing her in that matchup. So I want to learn it on PT as well. I want to have like both characters very well like brought up to speed in that matchup. That's like one of the things I'm probably going to be working on in the house. But at the moment, it's really just kind of a I know the matchup on Zerasu, I don't know the matchup on PT, so I play Zerasu. But I know they're both good.
Well, it's kind of funny that you kind of mentioned that you don't consider yourself like particularly a Steve player or Steve like I guess expert or being incredibly experienced just fighting against Steve. Because you literally 3-0'd Onan and then he got so mad that like I kid you not, like I'm looking at the schedule here. That was at Wolverine 4. You 3-0'd him and he got 5th, which is his worst placement since then. Or wait, no, okay. Well, he got 7th at Rise and Grind, but like besides that, after he 3-0'd him, he got so mad that he won like 2 majors, including a super major. So to solidify himself as the best Steve. So it's to me, it sounds like you know a thing or two about maybe intuitively and how the Steve matchup works if you're able to, 3-0 him, but food for thought, maybe.
I like think about that set because it confused me so much. Where like Onan, I played Onan one time before that, and he absolutely messed me up. Well, it was like 3-1 at like some Michigan tournament.
Mirage,
back, yeah, Mirage, yeah. So 3-1. I was really disappointed because I wanted to play Nico, and he ended up like beating. I think it was an upset at the time. Like Onan was on an upset run because it was. And he beat me, and like by game 4, it was just clear that I had no idea what the fuck was happening, and he was just doing whatever. I'm pretty sure he built a penis on me. I'm not. I don't. Like I
listen. It's part of the strategy, all right. It's part of the strategy.
I know. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Tangent. Hold on. The penis is actually like a very unironically good structure for Steve because especially in some matchups too, right? Because like. If there isn't a block on the ground, all characters can run underneath it. So if you didn't know that, chat, yeah, if there isn't a block on the ground, you can run underneath it. So what a lot of times, especially with like dirt, you just have to like pressure the blocks a little bit with safety, and then all of a sudden it disappears. You can pressure Steve. But if you have the wall as well as 2 blocks spaced out, it's much harder to get in on Steve. So like as stupid as it is, it's unironically a good block setup. I will defend that, till the day I die. But please continue.
It was regardless. It's very funny. But I remember after I lost that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do some homework, and I did do some homework. And it helped that Biggie Cheese, who's a local legend, started playing Steve too, and he's having a ton of fun with that character. He's I think like number 7 on our PR right now.
Yeah.
He was a legend with a whole bunch of different characters, and Steve's like perfect for him. It's just got all the goofy things that he likes about this video game. But Biggie Cheese started playing the character and started playing seriously again because of the character, and so like I got a little bit more local experience with that, and it basically came to the conclusion, okay, it's like I got to start doing this about blocks, like a lot of like F tilt, safe as air pressure. Occasionally like throwing out like side Bs because they go through the blocks just to keep them honest, and stuff like that. Certain things about interacting with like Anvil, a minecart, and how to use the flop. And it's like, okay, so I did my homework. I wouldn't call myself again like it's just because I did my homework doesn't mean I have like a PhD. I couldn't teach the class or something like that, but I passed the professor course or whatever, right? And so that's kind of about how I felt when I was going in to play Onan the second time. Where it's like, okay, I just know a little bit more about this stuff. And the way Onan played it was weird to me. I think it was wrong because that's the only explanation for how that set went that badly. Because it was very so he was doing like a lot of like aerial block camping where like like he builds a block, drops it down tilt, and he's like doing that like in neutral and stuff. It was very aerial. It was a lot of like throwing minecarts. It was a lot of well, no less about the minecarts, but it was more about like just like the fact he's spending a lot of time like just building blocks in the air and like sitting on them. When absolutely the way Steve plays the matchup, in my opinion, against Zero Suit is you stay on the ground, you build a block wall, and you mine. Because breaking through the block walls is a little awkward for Zero Suit, and just be like and staying grounded is so important. But he was not staying very grounded at all, so I just kept hitting him out of the air over and over again, and he just exploded. I was like, okay.
Yeah, even thinking about like recent Onan sets, I haven't seen him like play that kind of aerial style, like in the sets that I'm thinking of, like from his last majors. So maybe that's an adjustment he made after you smacked him around a little bit.
It just confused me. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't okay. I was like, and like the next week later he wins combo breaker, and I was like, there's just what? It's like, did I play the same guy?
It was the wake up call he needed.
But yeah, so it was like I don't know. That set was weird because I don't and it wasn't even like I felt like I was playing particularly amazing that day or anything like that. I've been like low one put me in losers. It wasn't a bad set. I was just kind of like I felt like I kind of choked that, and I hadn't really like played particularly astounding in any of the sets leading up to that, and I was just like, oh, I just kind of steamrolled him. Okay, but it didn't. It seemed weird just the way he was playing it and everything. And then I lost immediately the set after because I got Falcon Lighter off the top at 60. But
Happens.
Do you think more players need to? And I don't. There's a lot of people that kind of just like drown and say this, and I know it's kind of like nuanced, right? But do you think more players just need to do more homework in terms of like the Steve and Fighters Pass 2 in general? Do you think people it's like a lack of study that's causing people to run into frustrations? Or are these characters actually just going to be like the death of the game?
so I think players, if we're talking about the general competitive player base, absolutely. I think just players in general. I think even like up to high level, there's just so many people who don't do their homework like on anything. I think they just pick up a controller, play the game, and like maybe like take a few tips from the guy they talk to or something like that, and that's like their improvement for like the week or something. There's just not enough studying done in general. There's not enough like hey writing things down, thinking about like what like how does okay this interaction loses this one, so how can I start beating it? Like the getting down to like the nitty gritty of it. I don't think that happens very often, just in general about any matchup. That's like how you learn matchups. So I think the general player base. However, it does frustrate me when I see like the same people who are not doing this stuff that replying to the top players who are like, hey, this character's a problem on Twitter or something like that, and they're replying with, you just need to learn the matchup or something like that. Like I'm sure, like I remember seeing Zenodo get like bombarded for making a tweet like it was like just like not even saying we should ban Steve. It's like, hey, like this character's kind of like a problem, and like you just don't know the matchup, dude, or whatever. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, dude, Zenodo 100% knows more about this matchup than you know about every single matchup in this game combined. Like top players do so much homework. Like the people who are at the very 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 like top of the best. These are like it's not like Onan's coming in and like beating people who like have never seen a Steve before in their entire life. Like they think Leo did not do like any homework whatsoever on the Steve matchup, like whatsoever. Like no, he's done plenty, and still gets like messed up or something like that. Which is I think it's yeah. So at the end of the day, like yes, because they're losing, they need to do more. But also I think it gets implied that they're not, which is I think like I don't know, but that statement also implies that they haven't done a lot already, and like maybe even like not even done more so than they've done for every other character in the game, but it's still not enough or something like that, right? As long as Steve is in the game and people are losing to Steve, or you are people, then you need to be doing more homework. That's pretty much
Yeah,
the statement.
that tracks. That tracks. All right. Lunges, do you want to transition to like the takes and stuff now?
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
we have two takes, only one in the waiting room. We'll see if we can get the
Let
other one.
me I'm gonna do the promo for Get Cooked really quick, and you can go and sound check that guy if you want to jump in the other room.
All right, I'll go snag him.
All right. If you are in the Michigan area or nearby, in Lansing on September 24th, we're gonna have Get Cooked 2. It's a charity event. We actually had a couple Ohio people come out to the first one, which was pretty cool. I think unfortunately there's an Ohio regional that day, but whatever. Anyway, you should come to Get Cooked 2. It's really good. It's for like a nice charity in the Lansing area. There's a bunch of good food inside the venue. We've got like a cool little exclusive area where the stream is at, and like this little raised private area. It's cool. It's a really cool event. You guys should come out to it. Uh Get Cooked 2, September 24th. All right, looks like he's still sound checking.
Okay, and I am back, and I have a guest. I brought a guest with me. Caller number 1. What's your name? Where are you from?
Wolfie, and I'm from Indiana.
Welcome to the show again, Wolfie. I think you're the second. KJS, is this the first time we've had a repeat caller?
Yeah, because Raven King called in, but he was technically just a guest and then a caller. So this is the first time we have a repeat caller, I think.
Okay, awesome. Well, Wolfie, what is your take for today?
Okay, so for the people who watched Shine, you obviously saw there was a Greninja in top 12. He got ninth by the tag of Anarchy. I believe in roughly 9 months, Anarchy will be the best Greninja in the world, and on top of that, he will be a PGR threat.
Okay. So
Okay.
let's break that down. Okay.
Hold on. Before you get into it, Lunges, I just want to say this is our second so-and-so will be the best Greninja player in the world take.
Oh, you're right.
Because we had Cheesecake call in and say that about Ice Knight. So Wolfie, do you think that he's got the chops to be better than Ice Knight?
So
Or
in
do
the
you think he
Wi-Fi
is
era,
already?
I think it's hard to tell. Ice Knight, so the thing about Anarchy is he lives in nowhere land, Canada, like literally on an island where there's like the Smash Team's like very dead. So he's had to like practice Wi-Fi. So it's really hard to like kind of compare him, right? Anarchy's gone to like 6 events offline total. So that's
Yeah.
why I can't like give it to him now. But when there was like the Wi-Fi era, me and him definitely like talked about it. We looked through stuff, and I would say during that Wi-Fi era, Anarchy was definitely better in my opinion. I also might be slightly biased because he's a good friend of mine, but
Well, I
I,
mean, you could already make the argument like Ninth at Shine is probably higher than Ice Knight's best performance.
he did good at Combo Breaker.
Yeah. I mean, like
So it's
Ice
like,
Knight has some pretty good ones, but I don't know if he's reached that level. I guess.
yeah.
Let me pull up Ice Knight's stats too. But yeah, I mean, it actually is crazy because Shine. I'm looking at Anarchy Smash data page. Shine was their 5th tournament offline ever. At least unless there's some that were hosted on like Challenge or something.
There was like 2 or 3 he went to, but he's
Yeah.
definitely like under 10. And anytime
Mm-hmm.
he's like gone to a bracket, because he's trying to go to college in New England, I believe like Massachusetts area, and like all of his losses besides like Cornet have been like Axiom, DM, like other people who could possibly make the upset on like a PGR player.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like looking through looking through their results. Um, Funny enough, somehow Anarchy played Linus for Michigan.
Yeah, I watched the set live because I had a friend there recording it.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I don't know too much about Anarchy. I guess if you're gonna spin this as like they could be the best, I guess who is better than Anarchy right now is probably a better way to start the conversation. Who in
So with
your mind?
Greninja, it's kind of like weird because I used to main Gren and like talk to all the Gren people about this, but it's like the Gren. He's just a weird character because you have JW in Canada, you have Ice Knight, obviously, you have Donquavius, who's like Carolinas, and then you have Tark, who's EU, and then you have Leia. Those are the 5. Then Anarchy, who's nowhere in Canada, so you'll never get them at the same event.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're all pretty spread out. I see.
Yeah. So I would say right now, like you would have to give it to Leia just because he's like PGR and all that. Like You can't like defeat his results.
Okay. And then who do you have as like what's the ladder um that Anarchy would have to climb? Is Ice Knight then next as far as like the best North American?
North
Uh
American, it would be either him or Donquavius. I think he's done better like pre-COVID and still like post-COVID. I haven't done too much research into who versus who, but I can pull up
okay.
his things right
Yeah.
now and see.
Well, okay. Well, why 9 months? Let's start. Yeah, let's go. Let's go there next. What pretty specific amount of time is Anarchy going to school this fall? In like
He's
somewhere
trying to.
populated?
I think he's gonna have to like transfer a little bit later. There was something messed up, like actually like getting in. But
Mm-hmm.
9 months is essentially because in his play, you can kind of always see the people who go from online to offline struggling to input a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
I definitely saw that in his play already, where he's already like misinputting so much of this stuff and he's still doing this good. So I think once he actually gets adjusted to offline and actually like gets used to it and like can also compete against good people because he's stuck playing like on Wi-Fi consistently, so he can't like play anybody like amazing. Like he can do a grind session, but since he's also in nowhere land Canada, if they're not like northeast, then there's gonna be like weird input
Connection
delay.
problems, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be pretty bad input delay, so it's like not a perfect practice environment, and he's already gotten this far. So imagine what he can do in an environment where he just has to compete.
Yeah. Two losses to Light and ESM at a major. Definitely nothing. Definitely not bad losses. Um, I will say the Craftus win is good. I don't know too much about the actuary, and this is in regards to Anarchy's Shine
Mhm.
run. That might have been the benefit of a previous upset.
Yeah,
Um,
on link.
Craftus was good. Yanni is definitely a good win. Although I think of the what do people call them? Like the five horsemen of Smash Ultimate Apocalypse. Yanni is probably the most susceptible to an upset. So and this
Mhm.
is like devil's advocate. So I don't really see. I mean, Yanni is definitely like a great win. Don't get me wrong. And Craftus was on a hot streak as well. Um, but so that's like the devil's advocate was that the run to ninth was not terribly impressive relative to other people that got the same placement.
Mhm.
Um, that's like devil's advocate is that the peaks aren't quite there to contest with someone like Ice Knight who regularly is kind of the keyword plays against people in Chicago that go on to tear it up at majors like Ike and Natata, that kind of a thing.
I definitely agree. But Anarchy's also like proven himself. Like he beat Javi on Earth as well. I think at like his first local ever.
Yeah, I think you're right. But there's a 9-player Georgia one, so if you don't count that,
Yeah,
his first actual offline bracket, yeah, was that Mahi game night where yeah they beat
Uh,
and
Doorstop, do you have any opinion on this? Do you know about this player or anything?
So I didn't watch the Yanni set. I just remember hearing about it. It was like one of the pool captains came up to mind was like literally day one on Friday, and it's like, you want to hear about the upset of the day? That was the first I'd ever heard of the guy. And I was like, oh shoot, some Greninja player or something like that, right? And I see one upset in bracket. I don't think too much about it, but when I see two upsets in bracket, that's when I think there's something to that. So if you like, I don't know, like one big upset or something like that, it could have been whatever. There's a million reasons why someone could get an upset.
Yeah,
Like
the
better,
classic like get an upset and then you get double eliminated right after
yeah,
that type of thing. Yeah.
there's like that is it's not like a bad thing to get that upset. I wouldn't even call it
Yeah.
like a fluke or anything like that. But I think there's a certain like I think it's very solidifying to the type of level of player you are when you get one big upset and then you just make another one.
Mhm.
And it's like at that point, like maybe that's when you start thinking it wasn't really an upset or something like that, right? If
Yeah,
he's just
exactly.
he did it someone else too. And so when I watched the Craftus set, because I was waiting, I was at the set after Craftus, I was going to play Lager Mus, and we were waiting on Craftus versus this guy, and I was like, dang, this guy is just very legit. He's like, this is hella good gameplay. Game five of Craftus was really close. And I was like, yeah, this doesn't surprise me too much that even like he behind. This is just very high level play. So I would say yes, I'm 100% think that like he is in the conversation for some of the best Greninjas out there. I can't call myself a Greninja expert. I have played Ice Knight before, and Ice Knight I think has gotten a lot better since I played him. I 3-1'd him at Frosty Frostings. But I think since then, I think Ice Knight's had kind of a crazy streak of runs too. Which that was like back in like March or February or something like that. So I guess it was back in January, but so I think like Ice Knight is certainly a contender. It's just kind of one of those things where okay, Anarchy has so few results, so he's like definitely kind of a wild card. But when he goes to things, he's just very consistently competing at the level of these guys. Whereas Ice Knight, I think, has gone to a lot more things and is inconsistently competing on the level of these guys. Which obviously, if Anarchy had more results we could pull from, we could compare more easily. I think I am more inclined to believe that until Anarchy has something he really flops at, that I kind of agree with that statement. That said, I talked to Toast too much not to throw Don Quavius' name into the hat. Toast thinks very highly of Don Quavius. Toast thinks very highly of North Carolina in general. And I don't think Toast thinks that way of North Carolina because he's just gassing his region. Toast has compared like the top 5 in North Carolina to the top 5 in like Ohio, and it does not think it's like definitive. And like that to me says like a lot about like okay how good he thinks these people are. And Don Quavius apparently like beats him at locals like it's about like 50-50 from what I understand.
Okay.
And Toast is obviously like freaking Toast. So it's hard for me to like Don Quavius also goes to nothing, but when Don Quavius does go to things, he's like I think he's like pulling in like a lot of like 30-30s at majors or something like that. Like he's getting far, but not quite. He's like always at that point where he's like not getting far enough for anyone to pay attention. And I think he wins like 1 or 2 more sets of these things, like people are going to notice. And I don't know. Don Quavius to me seems like he's like one of those players that's just waiting to have like a huge run at any given point, just hasn't had like kind of that moment yet. So I don't know. I think like Ice Knight, Don Quavius, and Anarchy are all kind of floating around in the same area. I think Ice Knight has some of the most results of them, whereas I think Don Quavius has less than Ice Knight, but more than Anarchy, and Anarchy has so few, but they're very good. So I think Anarchy certainly has the potential factor. I don't think this take is crazy because I think he has the potential with the ability to go to more things. I think that's all like very realistic stuff. First major getting 9th. My first major I didn't make it out of pools. My second major I didn't make it out of pools. You know,
that's the news story of the Wi-Fi kids, right? They don't have the show up to your first local and go 0-2 anymore.
It's kind of a new generation. The unseeded guys can be terrifying. There's like a 1 in 10 chance that there's like 90% of the unseeded guys are people who are going to their first tournament, and then the 10% are these guys who might just beat everybody. So, but yeah, I don't think this take is actually that crazy at all. I think it's I think it's one of those takes like we can't really prove it till it happens. It's just I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me. He definitely has that X factor if he doesn't go to things, but when he does go to things, he takes names. So I think obviously if we do results right now of who's the best one, it's Leia, and then I think the other ones are contenders. But I think Anarchy has the potential factor because we don't know what he could do if he had the same attendance as everyone else.
Yep. All right, Wolfie. Anything you want to say on the way out here?
Just speaking on Anarchy, he is going to more majors. He's planning on to go in Let's Make Moves Miami, and there's a Canada regional that has $37,000 prize pot that I think he's going to as well.
Where's this?
Yeah.
I think it's like New Brunswick or something like that. But it was like 50,000 CAD.
Seeing as drivable.
Is that the one in Saskatchewan? Anyways.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but he's going to that.
Just drop the Smashes G link in the Discord. We'll check it out later.
Northeast Ohio is not that far from Canada, so maybe I might try to get a piece of that.
Well, it's also on. There's an event in Atlanta also hosting a major.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you have a good night, Wolfie. Thank you for calling in.
No problem. Appreciate being here.
All right.
Good to see you, Wolfie.
Good to see you. All right.
Wolfie is a ZSS main from Indiana, and he is one of my Metafy students, and he's been kicking ass since he's got my Metafy, so I will shill that. He's a contender for best player in Indiana right now.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know he was kicking it like that. But
Grayson, you want to go grab the next person?
I will.
Okay, I think the next person is a caller from Ohio, so we've got home turf here.
Oh, it's Esteban. Yeah.
Yeah. He was the one that clipped out the Ohio take from Blue Boo that was like Ohio would get washed by Michigan, so he got us on the map.
He's the instigator.
Yeah.
All right.
Only like 12 people would have known that take happened if he hadn't posted it to Twitter.
I love opportunities to talk shit. No.
Yeah. I feel I gotta keep the dead air. I can't just wait for lunges to come back.
Is the
so,
stream? Oh gosh.
Did you meet anyone cool at Shine that you hadn't talked to before? Anything like that?
Yeah. So we tried to meet up with Sword, who's a main ZSS that I talked to a lot in the Discord, but just kind of didn't end up working out, which is unfortunate. They like wouldn't let people back in the venue after like 8 p.m. on Sunday, which was like even though like the tournament was still going on, they just wouldn't let people back in.
Weird.
But
Crazy.
yeah, you can literally like see the glass windows and see like the melee top 8 happening, but you just couldn't go inside for a reason, which kind of sucked. But I don't know. Past that, like talked to Esam, I talked to guys like Luigi from that area. Me and Supergirl Kells talked a whole bunch. Sore. We did a lot of doubles money matches with her and Emma. And I don't know. Most of the time we spent was actually not in the venue. It was just like walking around Worcester and having a good time, exploring food places and stuff. So.
All right, looks like Grayson is back with our next caller.
Yep. Back with caller number 2. Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
Yo, what's up? I'm Esteban. I'm also a Greninja. I'm not talking about Greninja, but shout out Anarchy. He's sick. And I'm from Northeast Ohio. Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the show. And what is your take?
Okay. So I typed it down in here. And I kind of said this might not exactly be a hot take, but I feel like Sonic has dominated a lot of the conversation regarding like the top 3 to 5 characters in the game recently, and it kind of feels like he's done so without any like major increase in results. It feels like obviously like Sonic's has been popping off recently with I believe 5th at Pound and that dub at CEO. But like besides Sonic's, especially considering Ken isn't even playing the character as his main anymore, it's weird seeing this huge increase in like general consensus on his ranking without more character representation. So I was interested in like talking more about why that is.
Yeah, Doorstop. Do you want to start? Not to put you on the spot, but do you what are your thoughts on Sonic?
So Sonic is one of those characters that pretty much since the day the games come out, where if you put him anywhere between the top 20 and top 1, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. I don't know, somewhere in there. I'm not much of a I don't know, when people like talk about tier lists, some people get really into it, like, okay, who's your top 5, who's your top 10, who's your top 15 or something like that. I don't see the game that way. I just kind of, I don't know, I think like that stuff's like kind of irrelevant. I see that there's 3 tiers in like all of Smash, which is the characters that when you lose with, it is your fault. Those are the best characters in the game. Characters when you lose with, it is usually your fault. And that's like the mid tiers. And then there's the characters you lose with very frequently, it is not your fault. And those are the characters that are bad, right? And you should always be playing a character, but if you lose, it's always your fault. And Sonic is one of those characters. I have never seen any reason why a Sonic could lose something that they couldn't have won. It was like outside of the character's ability. But yeah, I would, especially lately, but like, I don't know, even for a while, like last like year or so, I'd be like, yeah, Sonic top 1. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. Something like that. I think he's certainly one of the more relevant contenders. I think he's more relevant for it than like Pikachu ever was or anything like that. But where he is specifically in that range, I don't know. He's absolutely busted character. I think I don't know. I can't say like Sonic's has just been doing a whole bunch better lately, so it's been more like prevalent in the discussion. And it's like one of those things where we can see it. We're like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like when it's broken because here's a good player doing it. And that said, I don't know if I feel like I agree with all that. Like they lose no matchups or anything like that. but it's a character I'm very uneducated on personally. I have not played against many Sonics. I have money matched Tony Z Tank. I had played Supergirl Gels in bracket once, and I have money matched her as of last time in China. And I won all of them, but they're always matches that I'm winning like close. And it's like at no point I feel like I don't know. At no point it ever feels easy fighting that character. So I don't know. It's one of those. It's hard for me to comment on. I think the character is extremely good and has the ability to win probably any match of the game, which makes him extremely good. But as to say like why it's been like I don't know. I think the reason why it's recently been coming up a lot is just because Sonic's is doing so well. So it's just results kind of bringing the focus. But I thought that could have been the case for a while.
Yeah, kind of to piggyback off of what you were saying, like you can like even tracing back pre-COVID, like Sonic as a character has had very high performances at like tons of events across all time. So like he's one of the characters that has consistently shown up in the top of like a lot of majors across all of the metas of the game. So like that makes me really believe that he's got what it takes to be one of the best characters in the game. Even like as DLC has come out, he hasn't like lost value in any way basically. And has remained there, as people have figured out characters and stuff. Some characters have lost stock over time. But I feel like that is not the case for Sonic at all. So that's my take.
Sonic, yeah, I agree with Doorstop in the sense that it's like there's I also view the game in terms of like, okay, who can win a major and who can't, or who can win a major, who can but hasn't yet, but they still could, and then just who can't win a major. So yeah, like 3 camps, and Sonic is clearly in the camp that like this character has or can win a major. I think the conversation is a little interesting that because in terms of like placements globally, this character was not at any point a top 5 character in terms of like placements at majors and high ends of regionals and stuff like that. I mean, I just opened up Bernard Loop's character tracker because he tracks character data. He's a data analyst. And Sonic is like 20th right now in the current iteration of the report. So like the character doesn't really dominate in the sense of like it's not being oversaid. Like you don't really see too many Sonic players, and I really think it is just the Sonic's effect that's kind of contributing mostly to that conversation because Sonic's is definitely on an upswing. Is Tony the only Sonic in the Midwest? I'm trying to think.
Where's Sunita from?
What was that?
Sunita's from like the South, right?
Yeah,
I think like the Southeast.
Georgia. Yeah,
Okay,
Sunito's
yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Because like, and Tony's in like Nebraska, right? Which is you could call that the same region as like Ohio, but realistically, it's like people in Great Lakes aren't really playing too much with Tony unless Tony goes to an ignition or something. But like
I drive 8 hours to go to Kansas City, so it
right?
happened. I've done it once. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Sonic is just a character. You don't really see like clearly the character has peaks and they have the toolkit that can do well. But I would agree with the caller here that like Sonic is, I mean, not really doesn't really have the results in terms of like there's not really Sonic players everywhere just dominating left, right, and center that would like indicate that the character is in a realistic sense, in a tournament practicality sense, like top 3 in the game. He's just one of the many characters that can or has won a major, which is like half the cast at this point. So
I think like the idea of like the 3 camps or whatever, you could rephrase mine into characters that can win a major, characters that need to get lucky to win a major, and characters that can't win a major. Like that's like kind of the same thing, right? Some characters have like 1 or 2 matchups that they just probably can't realistically win at top level, and then like the bad characters have just too many that it's not even practical or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's like probably my version of like the 3 camps or something like that. Which I think one thing I was thinking about, I realized is I think Sonic has always been an underplayed character, at least since the game came out. because I think it's like kind of like had I don't know, the Diddy Kong effect, where I think people like just got convinced that it didn't have one or two things that like they had in Smash 4 and therefore was bad. When it's like absolutely no longer the case. The fact that Diddy Kong got buffed as many times as he did is insane to me. Because I think Diddy Kong was just almost like was pretty darn good from the jump still. And then Sonic, I think, is a character where like he doesn't have shield cancel on spin dash anymore. He's Goffle. The character just fell apart. And then we just forgot about him until Wi-Fi. And I think Wi-Fi meta also, I think, helped the discussion for Sonic a whole bunch in the same way I think it helped Rob. Because for one thing, obviously you see them a ton for like we saw them for 2 years nonstop over and over again if you watched any Wi-Fi tournaments because they're strong online. But I think obviously no one was like particularly taking into account Wi-Fi as like the reason like these characters are good because they're winning Wi-Fi tournaments. No, but I think Rob players and Sonic players are the ones that benefited from the Wi-Fi players the era the most because they're the ones who kept playing the most. And so we keep seeing a whole bunch of like increase in Rob results and increase in Sonic results as well once we hit post-COVID area because these are players that got really good over that time because they just kept playing because it was the same game to them basically. And so I think those are also factors that get taken into place. I think Sonic was just not talked about enough before COVID, and I think COVID helped his player base a whole bunch. I think Sonic's also been the type of character that's has a whole bunch of like say those like levels of players I was talking about like at Shine. I think Sonic has like a whole bunch of like fringe like Area 51 PGR Sonic players out there. Like Sonic players that like people know are really good, like Sunny Do, like Supergirl Kells, like Craftus. Like there's a whole bunch of like good Sonic players that are like aren't quite PGR. And like Sonic's I think was in that camp for a while, but I think post COVID he's just been like he finally has that like top represented. The same way Rob was like that as well until they had Zomba, right? Like Zomba was like the first like okay top 10 contender to actually show people what Rob can do. You could argue Sonic Rob said Waddy before that too, was like an actual PGR player, but for a while people like Robs and Sonics were just working with. They had a whole bunch of like fringe like Area 51 PGR players, but not actually like many like super top level ones super pushing the meta, which I think is obviously with Sonic's recent performances. Now everyone's talking about Sonic. It's like, oh, we can see why he's broken now. This is stupid. Why is he allowed to do that? And he could have been doing it the entire time.
All right, Esteban, you got anything you want to say before we wrap up this call here?
In particular, first time you going to Geek Thursday?
Most likely. So the only thing that's keeping me at home right now is the fact that my stream setup and stuff is kind of scuffed. I actually was like kind of rushing to get things together today. Things are working so far. I have a working mic, which is better than I had before. I have a stream I need to do for Fear Friday. But barring like, I don't know, more disasters trying to fix my stream setup, I'll have time. And whenever I have time while I'm up here, I'm going to be going to every single local. So.
Sick, sounds good. I'll either see you there or Saturday in Michigan, I guess, yeah.
Absolutely. You need to send me your address so I know where to pick you up from.
I got you. I'll DM you on Twitter right now.
All right, Esteban, you have a good night.
Later.
Okay, we do have somebody that typed in the chat they wanted to ask a question. So it says, love to hear your thoughts on Ludwig sponsoring an invitational for Melee and Ultimate. How important is it for the Smash community that these massive content creators introduce their communities to Smash?
Absolutely huge. Like, think about the Smash Brothers documentary and how many people that got into Smash, right? That has like across all platforms, like on YouTube, it's like 3 million views at this point or something like that. Across all platforms, you could probably like ballpark, maybe like I'm upscaling on this, but like 4 or 5 million views or something, right? How many views does Ludwig get on like his videos and like streams like over the course of like 1 month? It blows that out of the water, I'm sure.
Yeah. For sure.
So with Ludwig, like with that kind of content creator and exposure, you think about it, like the amount of people that were doc kids from a video that over the course of 10 years accumulated that many views that Ludwig could get in a month. Like the amount of like Ludwig kids we could have at some point in the future or something like that. I'm not saying that's like going to happen as a result of this, but like that kind of exposure is so important. Like getting the name out there, like letting people know that competitive video games exist. I didn't know competitive video games exist until I was like in 8th grade. I was like, wait, you can like go to tournaments to play Pokemon? What? That's insane. Like I never even thought about that. Like, right? You know, it's just kind of like people take that seriously. The same way you could like, I thought the only like competitive games were baseball and basketball and football or something like that. Like, no, you can do that with like anything. There's a competitive scene for everything out there. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of kids don't know that, right? Like a lot of like the young teenage adults, like right, like 8th grade, like that's the kind of market of the people who are going to get into Smash early. Like those are the ones, and then Ludwig especially is like his that kind of reach helps so much. Ludwig is the fact that I remember watching the Scar and Toph show back in like 2017 and remembering that Ludwig was my favorite guest on there, even though I didn't know why he was on in the first place because he wasn't
Just
anything
some
other than
random like 2-2 Jigglypuff player.
yeah, he's like a 2-2 Jigglypuff player, but he's funny, and I liked how like
Yeah.
this guy he should stream, and sure enough,
Yeah, that worked out pretty well for him.
but like the fact that like Ludwig came from Melee, like straight up like homegrown, straight out of Melee, and into a world so much bigger than it, has done I think so much for both scenes. Just yeah, I that stuff is fantastic. We can't get enough of that.
Just a very quick aside, you reminded me of a story. I was doing security at the Big House 2017 or 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which one. But it like Scar and Toph were going into. I was like doing security for the stream area, and Scar and Toph were walking up to do commentary, and I like let them through. I didn't check their badges or anything, and Ludwig was walking with them. I was like, "Hey, whoa, 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 whoa! I'm gonna need to see your ID and your media pass." But I knew who he was, and Scar and Toph just started laughing at him so hard, and like. Because, like, I pretended like I had no idea who he was, and he was just, like, trying to sneak
Oh
me
my
out.
gosh.
And then, like, yeah, like, 2 years later, he's, like, the biggest streamer on Twitch ever,
He's no longer the little guy. Now he's the one, he's walking into, like, talk with celebrities, and they're the ones, like, who the fuck are Scar and Toph?
Yeah, exactly. The situation definitely reversed. But yeah, back on the topic of the invitational thing, I think it's super cool. Like for a long time, I've always thought that Summit is like the best like Smash content thing. Obviously some of the like top 8s at certain tournaments are really sick. But like for a full on event as a viewer, I like really loved Summit. So I like that some other people are like throwing their hat in to try out the invitational thing and see if they can, produce something of equivalent, value or entertainment and stuff. And yeah, like Doorstop was saying, not to just repeat the point, but yeah, Ludwig's audience is like huge, like a lot of younger people exposing the game like in a cool way to a lot of people that probably don't even know about the competitive scene, which is really cool. But yeah, Lunges, you got any take?
I mean, fortunately, I'll be going to the Invitational, so I'll let you guys know how it goes. Yeah,
Okay.
Onan was actually invited to be one of the 10 players, so they have a last chance qualifier as well, within 10 invited players, and they invited Onan, and his mom doesn't trust many people, so fortunately, I'll be getting another free vacation, another shameless free vacation. As Owen gets flown out to Vegas, but I mean, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that like keeps the scene going. You know what I mean? We've seen the benefit of like what Charlie or Moist Critical has been able to give the Ultimate and Melee scenes, and all just honestly fighting games in general too. He sponsored quite a few players. He held the massive quarantine series over COVID, which oh my gosh, there's so much money in that. And now he sponsors quite a few players to help them travel to events. So yeah, I mean that kind of content exposure is going to be huge for the community, huge for the scene. So big thumbs up for me on that.
Lunges, I'm not asking you to like leak anything, but like in the video it just says last chance qualifiers on Friday. Like, do you know what that is?
Did I? Maybe. I don't know what's been like released actually,
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm not. I would have to look at I
Okay,
just
you
saw
might
went
know what
live
it
with
is, but you might not be allowed to tell us. All right. But if you broke it here, that could be really good for the show.
Hey, yeah. Give reason to come back. Insider info drops.
Yeah. No, don't say it. Don't say
Okay,
it.
okay. Well, I'm glad you said something because I probably would have. But yeah. No, it's all just fantastic for the scene. Should we do? Should we wrap it up? Give like last minute shout outs before we close.
Yeah, really quick. While Doorstop was talking, I went and got the concurrent year by year viewership for the Big House. I just thought of this while he was saying about the Smash doc. You can see in 2013 they had 7,000 viewers, and then it jumps up to 48,000 in 2014, and then 73 in 2015, which is like a lot of that is the combination of Evo and the Smash doc, like exposing this to like a huge audience compared to what Smash had before that. Obviously, like we're talking about streamers' influence, not the Smash doc. But you just brought it up, so I just wanted to show that.
Yeah. Wow.
Like I could say that I was almost a doc kid. Basically, I first got in. I don't know. I feel like so many people's first tournament watching experience that I talked to was Apex 2015. And that was mine. I feel like, so like, I don't know, just the amount of people that randomly tell me that like, yeah, Apex 2015 was also their first tournament they watched. I stumbled into it by accident, whereas I think a lot of people stumbled into it because they watched the doc like a year later, and that was like the first big tournament that they had the chance to see. Or a lot of people watched the doc and then their YouTube recommended was Apex 2015 because the VODs of that tournament were so watched that like if you're like, hey, you're watching competitive Smash Bros. Here's like the most trending videos on competitive Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And it's, like Leffen getting like 5-0ing chilling dude, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I was like, I'm effectively a doc. I think like most people who got in watching Apex 2015, I would call that the results of the doc as well.
Mm-hmm.
Although it happened to me because I was a competitive Pokemon player, and I was watching Apex 2015 for the competitive Pokemon side event it had, and then the crowd was so loud for the money matches when it was going on during like the finals of the Pokemon BGC event. And I was like, what is happening over on the Smash stream? I just have to know. And so I tune in, and it's like the start of the Leffen versus Chillindude money match. The first thing I watched is the very first thing I watched on competitive Smash Bros. Ever was the shit talk that led up to that. And I was like, what is going on here? This is awesome.
Yeah,
right?
your
And
first
like,
set was one of the most legendary sets in the whole scene.
I was the first thing I ever saw. I was like, I guess this is Smash. This is sick. I love this, right? You know, and then like I watched the whole rest of the Smash tournament, and the whole thing was legendary spectator experience. Awful competitor experience, from what I understand, but legendary spectator experience. But yeah, like the doc is huge for that. Just like creating videos on YouTube that are now recommended to people and stuff like that. People who click on Ludwig's, the million people that click on Ludwig's like tournament video about the tournament are now going to have other Smash tournaments in their YouTube recommended and stuff like that, and they're going to go find it and stuff like that. And that's how you get those like the Apex 2015 is probably has some of the most watched YouTube content of like all time, and I think it's like directly related to like the timing with the doc.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. The YouTube algorithm, the pipeline, the Smash Brothers competitive pipeline.
I think Big House 4 was also Big House 4 was the 2014 one. I think that also is like absurdly watched Smash VODs because of I think again like the Evo timing, the doc timing, and people started watching that and then started getting tournaments that are recommended. Those VODs from around that time have insane amounts of views compared to like other tournaments. Like I know like Apex 2015, like the average like top 8 match that has like 300,000 views, which you know like that's ridiculous numbers.
All right, we're coming to the end of the stream here. So we'll ask you the question we've been asking all of our guests. Doorstop, do you have any hot takes?
Do I have any hot takes? I should have been thinking about this in during.
Yeah, I
the
did
whole
warn
thing.
you before.
You did warn me. I don't know.
All right, you don't have to have one. It's fine. It's fine. We're just giving you a chance.
I don't know. I like to think I have pretty. I don't think any of my opinions are too crazy. I think it's all pretty in line with a lot of general thought that is already known. Not necessarily a general thought of everyone, but like thoughts that have been seen before or something like that. I don't have anything too particularly far out there.
All right. Tell us your thoughts on the Michigan PR versus the Ohio PR.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Listen, we gotta let an Ohio guy defend his turf, all right?
I think the way it's worded is very, very smart because I think Michigan PR probably does beat Ohio PR. However, if you take the words PR off of it, I think that it flips the other way around. Because PR would subtract the player that just got top 3 in a major a month ago and the guy who just won one last weekend.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about Cosmos. We just asked Doorstop about his run.
So, yeah, like so. I think when you talk about like PR, I think Michigan probably slightly edges out. I think it's close, but I think probably slightly edges out. But I think it does not even a conversation anymore once you throw Toast and Cosmos names into the loop.
Okay. We've already had a long enough discussion about it on a different episode, so we just wanted to give somebody a chance to defend the Ohio people. So, all right, Lunges, you got anything to say before we call it quits here?
Yeah, no real shoutouts except for tuning into Bahamut this Saturday. Honestly, the most stacked tournament I think I've ever seen relative to how many entrants it has. There's only 60 ultimate entrants, at least when I checked this morning, and like pretty much I think every Michigan PR player is there.
Yeah,
about half of the Ohio top 10.
Yeah, you're gonna be there. Toes is gonna be there. This tournament is ridiculously stacked. Yeah, like if you're like a PR player, you're probably playing another PR player like legitimately around 2.
Yeah, to make it out of pools or something. It's crazy.
Yeah. So tune into that. Also, second quick shout out to Jen because he was right about Pikachu. I just checked the character sheet, and I think for the first time, Pikachu is tied with Pichu in terms of like regional and major results. They're both like 45th right now, which is just
right next to Zero Suit. Yes.
Well, barely edging out Zero Suit, who we all know sucks, but those are that's my shout out.
Shout outs to Fear, by the way. Both Ohio carpools going to Bahamut are being done on Fear's gas money. So
nice.
Emma is taking up the carpool that will have Psychod, Fass, and a couple others, and then I'm taking the carpool that's going to have Toast, me, and probably Andrew T. So
dang, I got to get in contact with these Fear guys.
Looking to run events with them. They're interested. So
all right. But yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I know we went a little longer here, but we also started a little later. That's our excuse this week. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find us on Twitter. I didn't look up our Twitter app before this. Anyway, we have a Twitter. Look up Great Lakes Hot Takes. You'll find it. And join the Discord, and you can call in and tell us your takes next week. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night. See ya.